Hello and welcome, my dear chosen one. Before we go any further, I want to take a moment to thank you, truly thank you, for being here. Whether you've supported this mission through your prayers, your time, your encouragement, or even through a super thanks donation, please know this: your presence is deeply felt and sincerely appreciated. Every seed you sow into this work helps it reach others who, just like you, are walking through silent battles while carrying powerful callings. And whether you give or not, you are still honored, you are still chosen, you are still seen. Now, lean in for a second. There's something I need to tell you, and I'm not going to wait until you feel ready to hear it, because somewhere deep inside you already know it's true. God is proud of you, not because you checked every spiritual box, not because you never stumbled, not because you always had the perfect prayer or the cleanest heart. No, beloved, He's proud of you because you kept becoming, even when it would have been easier to shut down, even when the voices around you told you to quit, even when the world convinced you that your light didn't matter. You kept going. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it so hard just to be good in a world that rewards everything but integrity? If so, you're not alone. But here's the sacred truth: your quiet obedience has moved heaven more than you realize. When you stayed calm instead of screaming, when you offered peace instead of retaliation, when you kept the faith while everything else tried to strangle it, that's when God smiled over you. Not because it looked pretty, but because it was real. Maybe no one ever told you this when you were younger. Maybe when you did the right thing with trembling hands, no one applauded. Maybe you gave your last bit of strength to hold someone else up and still didn't receive what you needed in return. Maybe you've never heard anyone say, "I see how much it cost you to stay kind." So let me say it now: I see you. And more importantly, God sees you. Every act of integrity, every decision made from a place of love instead of fear, every single time you rose from the ashes of betrayal and chose to love anyway, heaven took note. Type 999 in the comments if your spirit feels this right now. If something inside you is waking up, breaking through, and remembering that you were never fighting for attention, you were fighting to stay aligned with who God called you to be. And now, that alignment is about to pay off. This message isn't just words, it's a divine appointment. It's a reminder that what you've sown in the dark is about to be honored in the light. So, stay with me until the end of this message, because this isn't just encouragement, it's a confirmation, a spiritual announcement, and I promise by the time we're done, you won't just be listening to a message, you'll be hearing a reflection of the warrior you forgot you are. Let's begin. God's chosen ones. God is about to shock everyone who thought you were finished. Chosen ones, maybe no one clapped for you. Maybe no one said thank you when you took the higher road, when you turned down the chance to destroy someone who tried to destroy you. But let me tell you something, chosen one, heaven noticed. The angels recorded every moment. God marked it with holy ink. While others looked away, heaven leaned in. Can you feel that? That weight on your chest? That's the truth trying to settle in. Nothing good you've ever done has been lost. Not one act of compassion. Not one moment where you chose love instead of retaliation. Not one time you swallowed your pride and held your tongue when your soul was screaming for justice. And you did it all without fanfare, without seeking validation. Isn't it wild how you kept sowing seeds of peace in fields that only gave you thorns? And still, you stayed rooted in your spiritual integrity, a kind of strength most people can't even define, much less carry. Why do you think your presence disturbs people even when you're quiet? Why does your name cause such strange reactions in rooms you haven't even entered? It's because your very existence holds the kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself. You've been doing spiritual heavy lifting in silence, breaking generational patterns without ever broadcasting your battles. You didn't just heal yourself, you're healing your bloodline, rerouting curses, rebuilding foundations, all while keeping your heart soft in a world that tried to harden you. That is rare, that is sacred, and don't let anyone minimize it. You've made decisions that cost you everything visible, but built things that are eternal. You see, God doesn't operate like people. He's not moved by performances. He's not impressed by curated pain, rehearsed suffering, or public perfection. So let me ask you, when was the last time you gave yourself credit for what you survived without applause? For how you kept walking through storms without asking for sympathy? That's what God rewards. Not the image of strength, but the truth of it. You didn't earn divine favor by suffering correctly. You were chosen because you carried truth when it was inconvenient, because you didn't let trauma turn you into someone unrecognizable. You see, the reward was never about playing the part. It was about choosing love even when love didn't feel safe. It was about being honest when lies would have gotten you ahead. It was about holding on to light in rooms that worshipped darkness. Do you know how rare it is to be that kind of soul? To be the one who says, "I won't become what broke me." That's more than maturity. That's divine. That's evidence of spiritual royalty. Look at people like Nelson Mandela. After 27 years in prison, he could have come out with a heart full of bitterness, but instead he chose reconciliation and peace. And that decision shifted the fate of a nation. Or, think of Princess Diana. Despite the chaos in her personal life, she kept choosing compassion, serving the sick, the forgotten, the unloved. That choice wasn't weakness, it was holy strength. And you? You've been walking in that same kind of grace, though the world didn't always see it. But heaven did, every single time. Scripture says in Hebrews 6:10, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown him as you have helped his people and continue to help them. Chosen one, your unseen sacrifices are being seen now. And they weren't small. They were defining. They were eternal. You're not just a kind person. You're a cycle breaker, a peacemaker, a spiritual warrior cloaked in compassion. And what you've sown in silence is about to break through the ground and shock everyone who thought your season was over. You didn't come this far just to be overlooked. That humility you walk in, it's not denial of your greatness. It's proof of it. People mistook your gentleness for weakness, but you were never weak. You were wise. You were strategic. You were divinely assigned to carry grace in environments built on ego. And while others competed for attention, you cultivated truth. That's why your journey has felt heavier. That's why you've been hit harder, tested longer, stretched thinner. Because God was preparing you not just to survive, but to redefine what strength looks like. Do you remember Chadwick Boseman? While the world celebrated his roles, no one knew he was battling cancer behind the scenes. Yet he kept showing up, delivering excellence, making history. His power wasn't just in his performance, it was in his perseverance. And you, chosen one, are cut from that same spiritual cloth. You have been bleeding in silence but still choosing purpose. You've been crushed but not destroyed. And now comes the part that no one saw coming. Resurrection. Isaiah 61:3 reminds us that God gives us beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Doesn't that sound like your life lately? You've had seasons where you thought the fire would consume you, but it only refined you. And now, as the smoke clears, you're stepping out, not as a victim, but as a vessel, carrying something the world desperately needs. They tried to bury you, but they didn't know you were a seed. Think of Oprah Winfrey, born into poverty, abused in childhood, told no countless times, and yet she became a voice for millions, not because she fit in, but because she stood in her truth. Your story carries that same revolutionary thread. Your breakthrough will be undeniable, not because you forced it, but because you embodied faith in the face of silence. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And that proper time, it's closer than you think. You didn't give up. You held the line. You chose love when hate was easier. You remained anchored when everyone else drifted. And now the heavens are preparing a divine unveiling, not just for your sake, but as a witness to everyone who wrote you off. So, what if your quiet obedience was the loudest declaration of faith the heavens ever heard? What if your silence during betrayal echoed louder in eternity than any shout of revenge? What if the next season of your life is God's way of showing the world what He does with someone who chooses love over and over again? You're not here by accident. You're not reading this by mistake. This moment is your reminder. You were never forgotten. You were being preserved, and now the reveal is coming. Psalm 126:5 declares, "Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy." And chosen one, your joy is not just on the way, it's about to overflow. Every tear was currency in heaven. Every sleepless night was a down payment on the destiny God is about to hand you. The shock is coming, and not just for your enemies, but for everyone who underestimated the quiet power of your love. Someone who can see cruelty clearly and still choose not to pass it forward. Do you understand how rare that is? In a world where pain is recycled like currency, where bitterness is passed down like inheritance, you, chosen one, have decided to break the chain. That's not just kindness, it's divine courage. Anyone can mirror the violence done to them, but it takes a sacred kind of soul to absorb the blow and respond with mercy. That kind of strength isn't learned in sermons, and it can't be memorized from any book. It's forged in fire. It's lived, not taught. And whether you realize it fully yet or not, you're walking in that exact power. The kind of power that makes angels pause and darkness tremble. Have you ever wondered why your life felt so heavy at times? Why your path required a different kind of endurance? It's because God entrusted you with a spiritual authority that very few could carry without it destroying them. And here's the truth no one wants to say aloud. You've taught God more about faith than many people who pray loudly in public but live fearfully in private. Why? Because your faith wasn't born in comfort. It wasn't shaped in easy seasons. It was chiseled in the wilderness, in the middle of long silences where heaven felt quiet and answers seemed out of reach. You didn't learn to trust God because everything worked out. You learned to trust Him when nothing made sense. Isn't that the deepest kind of faith, the kind that survives confusion, contradiction, and delay? You stayed with the story when it would have been easier to walk away, and that's why what's coming to you now doesn't feel ordinary, because it's not. This isn't just your turn in some impersonal universal rotation. This is your reward. This is the sacred return of everything you sowed when no one clapped, everything you withheld when you could have retaliated, everything you gave without guarantee of return. This is not just a new season. It's a prophetic fulfillment. You endured without applause. You chose stillness when chaos screamed for a reaction. You stayed low when pride begged you to rise, and you did it all without fanfare. That's why heaven is about to make noise on your behalf. Do you remember Job? He didn't just lose material things. He lost his health, his reputation, his dignity. And still, he said in Job 13:15, "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him." That level of unshakable trust is the kind you've lived out. Chosen one. Not because life made sense, but because you knew your soul belonged to something higher than circumstance. You've been carving your legacy in silence, and now God is getting ready to put it on display. Why? Because your truth is finally louder than your trials. Your light, once confined to hidden corners, is now beginning to ripple into places you never imagined. And let's be real, This transformation didn't come cheap. You earned this moment through lonely nights when no one saw you crying but God, through moments when people mistook your silence for surrender, not knowing it was sacred strategy, through internal decisions that made no sense on paper but aligned perfectly with the voice of God in your spirit. That's the kind of obedience that brings heaven to its feet. That's the kind of discipline that opens doors no degree ever could. Take, for example, Tyler Perry. For years he wrote plays while living in his car, ignored and laughed at, but he stayed aligned with his spirit's instruction. He didn't shift to impress. He stayed still until the right moment arrived. Now, he owns entire film studios, and his name is synonymous with perseverance. Or look at Malala Yousafzai, shot for standing up for girls' education, and yet she continued forward in peace, not revenge. That's the same spirit that lives in you. You don't move out of bitterness. You move from purpose. Romans 5:3-4 says, "We also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." What you've built inside of you is character the world can't manufacture. And now that hope is starting to rise, not just as an inner whisper, but as an outer shift. Can you feel it? Something in the atmosphere is starting to bend in your favor. The timing is no longer working against you. It's about to partner with you. The same people who misunderstood your silence are about to witness your sound. And it won't be noise, it'll be testimony. What would it look like if the very light you hid to protect it is now the fire God uses to illuminate nations? What if the years you spent in between were actually divine training, not delays? Think of Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks. Raised in public housing, he once sold his blood to afford college. But he had vision, and more than that, he had inner resilience. That's what you carry. You may not have been given the loudest voice in the room, but the frequency of your soul has always been undeniable to the heavens. You didn't chase spotlight. You cultivated alignment. You didn't rush destiny. You waited for God's whisper. And now that whisper is turning into a roar, because heaven always pays back what was quietly sown with holy interest. Psalm 37:6 says, "He will make your righteous reward shine like the dawn, your vindication like the noonday sun." What you thought would remain hidden is about to be honored in daylight. You thought you were just surviving, but in truth, you were being prepared for public restoration. Don't underestimate the power of what you built in the dark. The light that's now radiating from you wasn't switched on overnight. It was cultivated, protected, tested. You've been stewarding a sacred fire. And the way that fire begins to spread now, it's not by chance, it's design. You're becoming the living evidence that even after betrayal, confusion, grief, or spiritual drought, there is life again. There is purpose again. And more importantly, there is light again. Take the story of Bethany Hamilton, the pro surfer who lost her arm in a shark attack at 13. Everyone thought her career was finished, but not only did she return to surfing, she became a global inspiration. Why? Because she didn't let pain have the final word. Neither will you. The fire that tried to consume you is now the light that confirms your calling, and it's time the world sees it. 2 Corinthians 4:17 says, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." Chosen one, your glory is not just spiritual, it's tangible. Your reward won't just be peace, it will be platform, not for ego, but for purpose. God is about to broadcast what He cultivated in your silence. Your discipline didn't go unnoticed. Your restraint didn't go unrewarded. Your season of invisibility was actually divine insulation. The peace that once felt like a battlefield now arrives more gently. Have you noticed it? The air around you isn't as heavy. The silence no longer feels like punishment. People start to pause when they're near you, not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. There's a stillness about you now, a quiet authority that even strangers can sense. And no, that's not a coincidence. That's the reward of a soul that refused to quit. That's the result of choosing endurance over escape, compassion over retaliation, surrender over control. You've paid a high price for peace, and now, for the first time in a long time, it's arriving without resistance. But let me ask you something. Do you trust it yet? Because sometimes when you've lived too long in survival mode, peace feels suspicious, joy feels unfamiliar, goodness feels like a trick. And if that's where you are right now, chosen one, I want you to hear this clearly. It's okay. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're healing. When you've spent years battling invisible storms and calming emotional earthquakes in your spirit, rest doesn't always feel safe. Joy can sound like a language you once spoke fluently, but forgot how to pronounce after so many years of surviving. But guess what? That joy is returning, slowly, gently, without fanfare. Not because you earned it through perfection, but because your spirit remained open even when your heart was tired. This season of light isn't a reward for performance. It's a restoration of what was always yours before the world tried to convince you otherwise. You don't have to strain to keep it. You don't have to prove your worth to maintain it. God is sending it, not because you finally said the right prayer, but because even when you couldn't find the words, you showed up. Even when you doubted yourself, He didn't. You kept walking when you couldn't see the road. You kept hoping when hope was a whisper. And in heaven's eyes, that's enough. That's more than enough. Look at the story of Naomi in the book of Ruth. She lost everything, her husband, her sons, her home, and renamed herself Mara, meaning bitter. She believed her story was finished, and yet, through her pain, God restored her legacy through Ruth, a woman she never expected to carry her future. The lesson: even when you feel emptied, God is still scripting restoration. As it says in Joel 2:25, I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten. That's not just a poetic line, it's a divine promise, and you're living proof that it's unfolding right now. Have you ever watched someone like Brendan Fraser? He was once one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, then vanished from the spotlight for years, dealing with trauma and injury. Most people forgot him, but he didn't forget who he was. And when he returned, it wasn't loud or arrogant. It was sincere, humble, powerful. His comeback touched the world because it wasn't about glory. It was about survival turned to strength. That's the kind of energy you're radiating now. Not just return, but resurrection. And this resurrection, it's not the kind that demands attention. It's the kind that walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere without saying a word. Why? Because people can feel when someone has been through the fire and came out with their soul intact. That's you. You carry the fruit of quiet victories, of private forgiveness, of unseen tears that watered deep roots. Isaiah 40:31 says, But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. This isn't you dragging your broken pieces into the future. This is you rising slowly, steadily, powerfully. You may still be unsure. Maybe some days joy feels like wearing clothes that don't quite fit anymore, like it's yours, but your body and spirit haven't adjusted yet. That's okay. Give yourself grace. You're not just relearning joy, you're reclaiming it. And it doesn't have to look how it used to. You've evolved, you've deepened. Joy now isn't loud laughter or surface-level happiness. It's the deep inhale of peace after surviving a storm. It's waking up and realizing nothing is chasing you. It's looking around and realizing that healing is no longer a future hope. It's your current reality. Consider the story of Beth Moore. She faithfully served God through decades of ministry while weathering intense spiritual opposition, even from people in her own faith community. Through it all, she never hardened her heart. She kept loving, kept writing, kept showing up. And her latter days, they carry a weight of wisdom and peace that couldn't have been formed without her earlier storms. That's the trajectory you're on. One where your past no longer holds you hostage. It becomes a platform for greater grace. And don't forget what Jesus said in John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. The peace you feel now isn't manufactured. It's divine. It's not here to tease you. It's here to stay. You don't have to perform to keep it. You don't have to fight to hold it. It's part of your inheritance as someone who never gave up, even when everything in you wanted to. Let me ask you something that may sound strange, but is deeply necessary. Are you willing to let yourself be happy now? Are you willing to let go of the inner narrative that says chaos must come before blessing? That joy must be earned through suffering, because that's not how heaven works. You've been faithful through the drought, and now the rain has come, not as a test, but as relief. You are allowed to receive it. Think about Simone Biles. She stepped away from the Olympics at the height of her career, not because she couldn't perform, but because she chose peace over pressure. The world was shocked, but she reminded us all, mental and spiritual health are just as important as victory. And what did God do? He honored her courage with restoration and peace that surpasses medals. Like her, you're finally choosing the quiet win, the inward strength, the joy that doesn't need permission. Zephaniah 3:17 offers this beautiful promise. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing. Do you hear that? God isn't tolerating you. He's celebrating you. He's singing over your life. The heavens are not just nodding in approval, they're rejoicing. Because your journey, your faith, your survival, they mean something eternal. The divine never makes mistakes, and chosen one, you are living proof of that truth. God knew exactly what he was doing when he wrapped your vast soul in human skin, when he gave you vision that sees beneath the surface, a heart that loves deeper than logic, and a voice that holds more spiritual gravity than even you sometimes realize. You were never meant to blend in. You were sent here to shift atmospheres. You are what healing looks like when it walks into a room. You are the embodiment of truth in a world drowning in performance. And the fact that you're still standing, still soft, still open, that alone is a miracle no one should underestimate. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why your journey has felt so different from those around you? Why you've always been more sensitive, more intuitive, more spiritually tuned than your peers? It's not coincidence, it's coding. You were wired this way because God had a specific assignment in mind. Your soul remembers where it came from, even when the world tries to make you forget. That memory inside of you, the one that aches for something higher, purer, holier, it's not a flaw, it's your compass. And yes, the path has been anything but easy. Sacred assignments rarely come with comfort. You've faced nights where your spirit was so weary that sleep was a stranger. Mornings where the simple act of waking up and trying again felt like a mountain too steep to climb. You've had moments where rage knocked at your door, where revenge seemed justified, where the pain could have easily birthed bitterness, but you chose release instead. You forgave when you had every reason not to. You let go when clinging would have felt safer. And that chosen one is a victory most people will never understand. You see, the version of you that heaven celebrates the most isn't the one with all the answers. It's the one who wrestled in the dark and still said, I trust you, God. It's the version of you who stayed when it was easier to disappear, stayed when loyalty cost you everything, stayed when your heart felt like it was breaking piece by piece. It's not the polished you that holds the most power. It's the honest you, the broken but still believing you, the surrendered but not defeated you. Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Heaven has always been closer than you thought during those times. And let's be clear, you don't need to earn your place at God's table. You already built your own seat. With every tear you didn't hide, with every kind word you gave when no one returned it, with every spiritual battle you fought in silence, you were carving out sacred space. Your resilience is the architecture of that seat. Your love is the foundation. Your faith is the invitation. And now, the feast is being prepared, not as a favor, but as a divine response. The God who watched you when no one else cared, the God who counted your unseen sacrifices, is now placing honor in your hands. What does that look like, you ask? It looks like doors opening without force. It looks like people recognizing your value without requiring your pain as proof. It looks like opportunities flowing in, not because you chased them, but because they were always written in your name. Are you ready to receive that kind of ease? Or are you still trying to convince yourself that you have to suffer to be worthy? Because I'm here to tell you, it's your turn now. Not just to catch your breath, but to dance. Not just to heal, but to flourish. Consider someone like Viola Davis, a woman born into poverty who faced rejection again and again and still chose to rise with integrity. She didn't become one of the most respected actresses of our time by playing the game. She became it by being real, by bringing her truth to every role, by not apologizing for the weight of her story. That's you. The world may not always understand your strength, but when God elevates you, it won't be because you played small. It will be because you stayed faithful in the shadows. 1 Peter 5:10 reminds us, "And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast." What you're feeling now, the shift, the ease, the unexpected flow of goodness, it's not accidental, it's not fragile, it's a divine restoration. God isn't just giving you back what you lost, he's increasing you in ways you couldn't have imagined. Think about Tyler Perry again. After years of homelessness and heartbreak, his breakthrough came in waves, first slow, then suddenly unstoppable. His gifts weren't new, they were just finally seen. Yours are the same. You've been doing the work in the dark, and now God is turning the lights on, not to expose your pain, but to reveal your purpose. And yes, it may feel strange. Receiving without fighting might feel foreign. Rest may feel suspicious after so much spiritual warfare. But don't shrink back. This isn't the enemy tricking you with temporary ease. This is the promise being fulfilled. Deuteronomy 28:13 says, "The Lord will make you the head, not the tail." If you pay attention to the commands of the Lord, you will always be at the top, never at the bottom. Chosen one, this is not a fluke, it's favor. Let's reflect on someone like Brandon Sanderson, a fantasy author whose quiet consistency turned him into one of the most successful writers in the world. Without flashy headlines or viral fame, he wrote his way to success behind the scenes, letting his work speak for itself. That's how God is elevating you, not with noise but with legacy, with substance, with divine timing. So here you are, standing at the edge of a life that finally recognizes you. And the question is, will you step into it? Will you let the old fight fall away? Will you release the old armor and receive the crown? Because this is no longer about survival, it's about expansion. It's not about getting by, It's about being blessed. Isaiah 61:7 promises, "Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance." Your inheritance is here. You've cried long enough. You've waited long enough. Now the heavens are declaring it's your turn to rise. For too long, chosen one, you've mastered the art of enduring. You've known how to push through storms, how to survive on empty, how to walk forward even when every step felt like a burden. But here's what's about to change. Now you're going to remember how to receive. And not just barely, fully, freely, without apology, without shrinking. This shift isn't just a product of time. It's not simply the result of surviving long enough. It happens when your alignment finally catches up with your identity, when you stop pretending to be smaller than you are to make others comfortable, when your soul decides that it's no longer hiding in the background. And isn't that what's been happening lately? Haven't you felt it? That divine stirring in your chest, that quiet refusal to dim your light anymore. This moment is not random. It's the intersection between who you really are and what you're finally ready to receive. And make no mistake, your presence carries weight, not because you demand attention, but because your very being disrupts what's false. You don't just bring light into someone's darkness. You are the kind of light that reveals. You shine without shouting. You convict without condemning. You walk into rooms and things shift. Not because you speak loudly, but because you carry a truth that whispers louder than noise. Have you ever considered how rare your spirit truly is? That you are living proof that a soul can be both soft and unbreakable, that someone can lose everything, money, people, reputation, and still choose to rebuild from love instead of revenge. Most people survive pain by hardening, but you let pain pass through you without becoming it. You let grief refine you without making you bitter. That's not just strength, that's spiritual royalty. That's divine training. Look at the story of Joseph, sold by his brothers, imprisoned unjustly, forgotten by men, but not by God. And when the time was right, everything changed in a moment. Genesis 41:41 tells us, Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Joseph didn't climb ladders. He was lifted because God doesn't need time, He needs alignment. That's what's happening to you now. The alignment has arrived. The lifting is here. And I know it feels strange, doesn't it? To stop bracing for impact, to stop second-guessing good things. Maybe part of you still questions whether you're allowed to receive without earning, to be loved without fixing, to be celebrated without proving. But let me ask you, who told you that blessings had to come with suffering? Who taught you that miracles had to be preceded by pain? Because that's not heaven's formula. Ephesians 3:20 says, "Now, to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us." That power is already in you, and it's active now. You've sown in silence. You've watered your spirit when no one else showed up to help. You've chosen growth over comfort again and again, and the fruit is starting to show, not just spiritually, but tangibly. Promotions, new connections, open doors, financial peace, physical rest, emotional clarity, and no, it's not coincidence. It's heaven saying, "I saw you. I never stopped watching." Think about Brené Brown. Her early work was rejected, misunderstood, even mocked, but she kept showing up with vulnerability and truth, qualities that felt too tender for a world obsessed with power. Eventually the world caught up. Now millions are healing because one woman refused to hide her softness. That's you. The kind of person who makes people question their masks. The kind of soul that doesn't dominate, but liberates. You don't need to yell to be heard. Your very presence speaks. Your stillness is a sermon. Your resilience is a revival. The truth you carry isn't loud, but it's undeniable. And now the universe, heaven and earth are answering you back, not just in subtle signals and cryptic confirmations, but in bold, real-world shifts. Things that were locked are opening. Things that were silent are speaking. Things that were delayed are arriving. Look at Keanu Reeves, quiet, kind, humble, a man who endured loss, grief, and long seasons of isolation. And yet, he stayed kind. He kept giving. He kept being himself in a world that tried to mold him into something colder. Eventually, the world began to celebrate him not for being flashy, but for being real. You walk with that same frequency. And now, that frequency is attracting its reward. Isaiah 60:22 says, "When the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen." That's the hour you're in. The time is right. The shift is here. And the only thing left to do is receive it. No more apologizing for your light. No more explaining your worth. No more questioning whether you deserve ease, love, or abundance. You do. Not because you're perfect, but because you're aligned. Look also at the story of Liz Murray, born to drug-addicted parents, homeless by the age of 15, and yet she went on to graduate from Harvard. Her entire life was a message of no excuses. She received because she believed even when nothing around her affirmed her potential. You've done the same. You've chosen vision over victimhood. And now, blessing is chasing you down. Let me ask you, can you handle being seen now? Can you handle walking through doors that open without you knocking? Can you handle being embraced without explaining where you've been? Because that's what's coming. Not tests, not trials, but testimony. The blessing that's about to arrive doesn't want your exhaustion. It wants your permission. It's waiting for your yes, not your striving, not your pain, your surrender. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." God never intended for you to stay in survival mode forever. Survival was the training ground, but the promised land, that's where you're heading now. And this promised land isn't just spiritual, it's emotional stability, financial restoration, divine connection, and peace that requires no explanation. Opportunities are beginning to find you without struggle, not because life suddenly became easy, but because you finally became ready. Can you feel it? Doors you used to bang on are now opening on their own. Relationships that once took everything out of you just to feel seen have been replaced by connections that feel nourishing, effortless, and genuine. Roads that were blocked for years are now parting like the Red Sea, not because you forced them open, but because your spirit has risen to a frequency that matches your divine calling. This isn't luck, it's alignment. This is what it looks like when your preparation finally meets God's timing. And let this be clear, you didn't skip steps to get here. You didn't bypass the pain. You lived every inch of this story, every valley, every heartbreak, every night of doubt. You walked it all, with trembling hands, with tired faith, and with a kind of grit that most people can't even name. So don't let anyone make you feel like you have to explain your success, your favor, or your glow. You don't owe your scars as receipts. You don't need to recount every tear just to justify the blessings in your hands. Let them wonder. Let them sit in confusion about how you rose. Because while they were looking for drama, God was keeping count. He saw it all. He counted every silent prayer you whispered with clenched fists, every decision you made to hold your tongue instead of lash out, every time you stayed in the fight when no one clapped for your resilience. And that's why you're being blessed now, not for show, but because of who you became in private. 1 Samuel 16:7 reminds us, "People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And your heart, chosen one, has been pure in the fire." That's why what's happening now is not just visible success. It's internal expansion. You've grown in ways no algorithm can detect, in depths no platform can capture. You've been stretching inside, making room for abundance long before it arrived. And now that it's here, the world feels different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your discernment is on a new level now. You don't entertain what drains you just to avoid feeling alone. You don't chase what confuses you just because it looks good on paper. You don't trade your peace for proximity anymore. You've learned that not everything that glitters is gold, and not every opportunity is divine. You've learned to listen to the whisper in your spirit, the one that says, "This isn't for me," even when everyone else is saying, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance." You've learned to trust your alignment over approval. Think of Maya Angelou. She once said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." She lived with wisdom rooted in spiritual maturity, not reactive emotion. She didn't need to chase validation. Her presence validated itself. That's the same kind of inner confidence you're walking in now. Not loud, not arrogant, just anchored. You don't rise through noise, you rise through truth. Proverbs 3:6 declares, "In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Your paths are being made straight now, not because you demanded shortcuts, but because you trusted the long road. You refused to compromise who you are just to get where you were going faster. You didn't fold when it got hard. And now, your peace is your passport. Your clarity is your compass. Do you see what's happening here? You've shifted from survival into strategy, from reaction into revelation. You've finally stopped shrinking beneath your calling just to make others comfortable. And let's be honest, that used to be your habit, didn't it? You'd soften your light so others didn't feel insecure. You'd water down your truth to avoid conflict. You'd carry burdens that weren't yours just to keep the peace. But that version of you is gone, not out of pride, but out of purpose. You're no longer available for the chaos that used to feel normal. Think of Serena Williams, how she handled years of criticism and scrutiny, not by bowing down, but by leveling up. Her presence on the court redefined grace under pressure. She didn't shrink to meet expectations. She expanded and forced the world to grow with her. That's the kind of shift you've made. You're no longer walking into rooms wondering if you belong. You are the room now. And no, this isn't about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about finally refusing to be less than yourself. That's what true spiritual maturity looks like. It's not loud or glamorous. It's subtle. It's found in the quiet moment when you choose your peace over their approval, when you honor your truth even when it costs you connection, when you choose to remain whole rather than be liked. Romans 12:2 tells us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That's what you've done, chosen one. You didn't conform. You transformed. You didn't follow the world's formula. You followed God's fingerprint on your soul. And now, that transformation is showing up in the most unexpected ways. You're not chasing, you're attracting. You're not striving, you're aligning. Let's not forget Oprah Winfrey. She once said, "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for, but in truth, you've gone a step further. You're not just asking, you've been becoming. And now, life is answering back. You don't have to scream for attention. You command it through quiet authenticity. And that's not pride, that's presence. So here's the question that matters most. Are you ready to live without apology? Are you ready to stop explaining your worth to people committed to misunderstanding it? Are you ready to step into blessings you no longer have to bleed for? Because that's the chapter you're in. You're not being promoted because you performed. You're being elevated because you endured, you refined, you remembered. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Chosen one, the new thing is already here. And this time, you don't have to fight to keep it. You just have to keep being you. Keep honoring your discernment. Keep choosing peace. Keep refusing to shrink. Because now, the very world that once resisted your truth is beginning to revolve around it. This is what spiritual maturity looks like. It's not some finish line. It's 1,000 tiny choices made in faith. It's how you show up when no one is watching, how you say no when your soul says, "Not this." How you protect what's sacred even when the crowd demands a show. And because of that, chosen one, you're no longer surviving, you're leading. And the light you carry, it's not for decoration, it's for direction. Let it shine, boldly and without restraint. You've earned this life. Now live it, unapologetically. There comes a moment, chosen one, when something in you settles. Not because life is suddenly perfect, but because your worth is no longer up for debate. You begin to live with a deep, unwavering knowing. Your value does not rise or fall based on who sees it, applauds it, or understands it. It simply is. You are no longer defined by outside validation, and because of that, something beautiful begins to unfold. The rewards that once felt far away aren't just on the way, they're already here. They're embedded in how your body feels like a safer place to live, in how your spirit feels less frantic, less scattered, in how you can sit in silence now and still feel whole. Even if no one is clapping, even if no one else gets it. Isn't that the truest form of peace? Let's be honest. There was a time when being misunderstood wrecked you, when you felt invisible unless someone else confirmed your worth. But you're not that person anymore. That version of you has been laid to rest. Because now you understand something sacred. The real reward is not just in what's coming. The real reward is who you became while waiting. Think about that. Let it sink in. You didn't just survive delay. You evolved through it. You didn't just sit in the hallway while the doors were closed. You transformed in the hallway. You rose. You redefined yourself without anyone's permission. And now, this isn't just a new chapter. It's a completely different book. The old rules no longer apply. The you who once begged for approval, the one who twisted yourself into versions just to be accepted, no longer writes the story. That pen is no longer in their hand. It's in yours. And the hand that holds it, it was kissed by God long before you even knew what power you carried. Do you understand the gravity of that? You were anointed before you were affirmed. You were marked before you were recognized. The author of the universe entrusted you to write the next part, because only you have lived it, earned it, and embodied it. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Your identity was never up for public vote. It was sealed in the heavens before you took your first breath." And now, you're being called not just to walk into new spaces, but to own them. Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Not because you've never failed, but because every failure trained you for what's next. Every heartbreak was preparation. Every disappointment was a sharpening. Every tear that fell in secret was counted, was sacred, was part of your becoming. Let's look at Viola Davis again. She rose from poverty and pain to become one of the most respected actresses of our generation. But beyond the trophies and awards, what truly sets her apart is how she owns her story. Her past didn't disqualify her, it qualified her. That's you. The world may only now be noticing, but heaven saw it all from the beginning. The parts of your life others overlooked were the very chapters God was highlighting. And now, the spotlight is not just finding you, it's catching up to you. Galatians 6:9 tells us, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." You didn't give up, even when it would have been easier to go numb. Even when starting again felt impossible. Even when every fiber of your being said, "Why bother?" You still chose to begin again. Sometimes bleeding, sometimes shaking, sometimes alone, but always choosing to show up with integrity, with hope, with just enough faith to take the next breath. And because of that, heaven is responding, not just with blessings, but with honor. Think of someone like Howard Schultz. Born in a housing project, he grew up with nothing, and yet he envisioned something no one around him could see. He didn't just build Starbucks, he built a vision from ashes. But what made him powerful wasn't just the business, it was his resilience. Just like you, you've built a new life, not from perfect conditions, but from persistence, from grit, from spirit. And now you're finally stepping into the chapter you were always meant for. This season isn't about proving anything. It's about being real, being clear, being undeniably you. You don't need to justify your peace. You don't need to defend your joy. You don't need to explain how you got here. Some things are sacred. Some victories are too holy to hand over for public dissection. Let them wonder. Let them try to decode how someone like you could rise from what you've come through. But never forget, God saw it all, and God kept count. Romans 8:18 says, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. Chosen one, that glory is unfolding now, not just around you, but through you. You are not who you were, and the world is about to meet the version of you that doesn't second guess, doesn't self-abandon, doesn't shrink. The version of you who writes boldly, lives truthfully, and chooses confidently. Not because life has been easy, but because every stumble became part of your rise. Look at someone like Steve Harvey. He slept in his car, was rejected time and time again, but he never gave up. He didn't let his beginning write his ending. And now, he walks in purpose, power, and peace, not just because of what he has, but because of who he became. Just like you. You've grown in silence. You've bloomed in private. And now, that internal transformation is radiating outward. So write boldly, chosen one. Don't whisper your truth anymore. Don't tiptoe around your power. Don't hold your breath waiting for permission. You are the permission. You are the miracle. You are the message. And everything that felt like delay, it was divine development. Every not yet was God whispering, I'm not finished making you into the one who can carry what's coming. Psalm 18:30 says, As for God, his way is perfect. The Lord's word is flawless. He shields all who take refuge in him. You have been shielded through the storm. You've been protected in the fire. And now, you're not just coming out, you're emerging crowned. Let that crown sit firmly on your head. Don't apologize for the shine. You earned it, not through perfection, but through perseverance. Every fall was a rehearsal for your rise. Every scar is now a stripe of honor. Every lonely moment was sacred training, and every breath you take from here on out, it's part of the reward. Live it boldly. You've been chosen for this. Beloved chosen one, if you take away nothing else from this message, let it be this. It was all holy. Every tear, every tremble, every time you showed up when it would have been easier to disappear, it mattered. It was sacred, not because you did everything perfectly, but because you kept showing up imperfectly, with heart, with humility, and with raw, real presence. You didn't need to be fearless to be faithful. You just needed to keep moving, and you did. That's what heaven is applauding right now. Not a flawless performance, but a courageous persistence. You've earned more than just the right to survive. You've earned the right to be honored. And now, that honor isn't a distant promise. It's here. It's wrapping around your life. It's lighting up your path. It's calling your name. You didn't miss your moment. You didn't fall behind. You've been walking in alignment all along, even when it felt like delay, because presence is what God honors. Not noise, not perfection, presence. The way you stayed when it hurt, the way you gave when you had nothing left, the way you kept seeking truth when lies surrounded you. The divine has seen it all, and what's coming next isn't random, it's response. The crown wasn't placed because you demanded it. It's been placed because you became the one who could carry it. You grew into your destiny with grace, and now grace is about to flood your life in ways even you couldn't imagine. So don't shrink now. Don't apologize for the blessing. Don't hesitate when the opportunities arrive. You didn't get here by accident. You were guided, protected, strengthened. And now that the season of heaviness is lifting, I want you to embrace the joy that's been tailor-made for you. This is your permission to live fully, to choose boldly, to rest deeply. You've walked through the fire and didn't lose your soul. That alone makes you unstoppable. Thank you truly for walking this journey with me. Whether this is your first time hearing these words or you've been with me through every step of this message, I'm honored to have shared this sacred space with you. You didn't just watch a video, you allowed your soul to be seen, stirred and strengthened, and that means more than words can say. If this message touched your heart, if you felt God whisper something to your spirit through these words, I encourage you to share it with someone else. Let this ripple out into the world. Let someone else be reminded that they too are not forgotten. And if you feel led to support this work, you can do so through the Super Thanks feature below. Your generosity helps this message reach further and bless more hearts across the world. But whether you donate or not, please know this: I'm deeply, sincerely grateful for you. Just your presence here is a gift. Just your energy, your attention, your spirit. It matters. Every comment, every moment you spend engaging with this content, it's felt. And I thank you for it with all my heart. As we close this sacred message, I speak blessings over your life right now. May God multiply everything you've sown in secret. May He heal every wound you've never spoken aloud. May peace flood your home, joy fill your spirit, and clarity guide every step you take. I declare that unexpected favor will meet you this week, that divine protection will go before you, that old cycles are breaking and new blessings are birthing. You are not alone, you are not forgotten, and you are absolutely not finished. You're rising, and all of heaven is rising with you. So until we meet again, whether in another video, a moment of reflection, or in the quiet place where your soul and God's presence meet, I leave you with this: you are chosen, you are powerful, you are deeply loved. Keep walking boldly in your truth. Keep listening for God's whisper. Keep shining, not because the world demands it, but because your soul was made for it. With all my love and all of heaven's favor upon you. Amen.